Whoa. Hello, all pilgrims and sojourners, those out there in YouTube land. Welcome back to the channel. Here for a quick FND journey update. My last post was kind of like a fill-in of my journey with functional movement disorder and what that's been like and everything like that. Well, today is kind of an update day with that. I was actually out in Grand Rapids today. I went and saw a movement disorder specialist. I've been seeing a neurologist since like all of this began, and been waiting to get into a specialist. But with like our medical stuff, like I'm sure many people know, it takes forever to get into any type of specialist for anything, whether that's dental, vision, anywhere in your body. It takes forever to get into a specialist, referrals, things like that. Finally was able to get into a movement disorder specialist, and by far was this my favorite, best, number one neurology appointment that I have ever had out of all, the last 15 years of being in and out of neurology offices, even see my own neurologist in my town that I live in. This was hands down the best appointment that I've had. This guy was informative, he was descriptive, walked us through it, very, very detailed. The testing, everything about it was just super, super, super good. I guess if anyone's in Michigan looking for a movement specialist, Corewell Health, Grand Rapids, highly recommend it. The entire staff, the nurses, the doc, like everything was just fantastic. But yeah, after like the testing, the MRIs, the EKGs, the whole shebang of everything, right? And going to this appointment, the doctor, the neurologist, the specialist, like, yes, you have FND. Everything else we've ruled out. This is what it is. You have all the classic symptoms of it. I'm actually doing really well right now. I just got back from Alaska. Me and my wife actually went on a cruise to Alaska a couple weeks ago. About 3 weeks ago now. We've been back. And since I've been back, I've actually been really, really good. Not a whole lot of movements or anything. And there'll be more on the Alaska stuff. We'll make some videos about the Alaska stuff and everything like that to fill you guys in on that front. But as far as the FND goes, when I told that to the neurologist, he was like, oh, well, that makes sense. Vacation, stress-free. So it turns out, and like we assumed, stress is the number one factor. I mean, with all movement disorders, but specifically with what I'm dealing with. Stress is the catalyst for everything, like, whether it's Parkinson's, whether it's whatever movement disorder it is. Anyone who suffers from movement disorders knows that any type of stress, good, bad, what have you, exacerbates those symptoms. And very much true in my case, whether that's anger, frustrations, good stress, bad stress, stress in general just exacerbates the symptoms, which is why vacations are good, because it's stress-free. Well, it's supposed to be. And why I'm doing so well. And even in this office visit, again, it was the most extensive physical testing that I've gone through at any neurology appointment. And he was able to dial my movements up and dial them back down, and like the whole thing that he was doing, from my perspective, I really wasn't aware of it all that much because I was focused on the exam, what he was telling me to do, what he was having me do, things like that. But for my wife, who was there, she's the third party in the room watching it all happen. She was like, this is crazy, seeing him manipulate in such a way. And so basically what it boils down to, talking with him and everything, there's not a whole medicinally, as far as prescription type medication and things like, there's not a whole lot to do, because there's not, there's not inside, there's not like, an actuating factor going on. For instance, with Parkinson's, you're missing dopamine. You can take dopamine and supplant that. Or if you have seizures, right? When you have seizures, there's an electrical storm going on. You can take medication that calms that storm. Well, with like pseudo seizures, where your body's manipulating that, your mind is going through and showing all the symptoms of a seizure and doing all the things, but there's no actual electrical storm. You could take all the anti-seizure medication you want, it'll never stop it. Same thing with functional movement disorder. There's nothing going on in that capacity. So there's no drug that can be put into my mind to make the thing stop. There's no movement medication that I can take that would stop my movements, because what's happening is there's miscommunication that is going on in my mind, right? I can't think of the right word. We talked about it, and the neurologist did a phenomenal job explaining it. I'm doing a terrible job. But basically, my mind is saying do this, and my body's doing something different. Like there's miscommunication going on. And to my surprise, in the last decade, there has been substantial research into functional movement disorder. Which I was pleasantly surprised about, because when I first started getting involved in this kind of stuff, getting into functional movement disorder and learning about it, when I started having it, everything just kept telling me there's no research. There's no research. There's no research. There's no research. And I'm pleasantly surprised and joyful even to find out from this neurologist, this specialist, that no, there's actually been a ton of research in the last decade, and they're changing terminologies, and there's so much going on, which is very, very reassuring for me, reassuring for my wife. I'm not dying, praise the Lord. No immediate health risk outside of if I have a flare up if I'm driving, or same thing with like any type of mental type things where you can have an accident doing anything if something flared up, whether, like my mom has grand mal seizures. Obviously, if she's driving, she has a grand mal seizure. That's detrimental to health, right? Like accidents, herself, other people, things like that. I don't really have to worry about that, so that's really nice. And so what it boils down to is stress management. Learning better coping mechanisms, even the suggestion of seeing a therapist or a counselor to learn good techniques, to have someone to talk to de-stress, to decompress, because there's a lot of things. Because again, it's good stress and bad stress. Because there's things that are in our lives that we're involved in that are good things for us, that are enjoyable for us, but still are stressors mentally, emotionally, and physically. And learning how to navigate those things. Learning how to, instead of just saying, well, I'm fine, I can just brush this under the rug and put it aside. Well, that's not actually helping anything, because the stress is still there. Even if you're pushing it down and shoving it down and saying, I'm not going to deal with this right now, I'll face it some other time, well, I'm fine, whatever, put it to the back of my mind, it doesn't actually alleviate the stress. It's just over there, and the stress is still piling up. So having to actually have the real honest conversation of saying, okay, no, we actually have to address these things on the work front, family front, emotional front, mental front, physical front, everything, and start navigating that. And the biggest thing is just listening to my body, right? When I know that I'm reaching a mental, emotional, or physical limit, that I need to take a step back and navigate that, and try and sort through those pieces. And so basically that's, there's also, with people with functional movement disorder, there's also some physical therapy, some cognitive therapy, things like that you can do. I'm not really going down, for myself and my journey, I'm not really going down that route, because of just where me and my family are, and what we've learned and what we started adjusting with in our own lives, dealing with this for the last 3 years. We have a pretty solid game plan, and even coming from the specialist I saw today, he said the same thing. You guys have a solid game plan. You have a good understanding of this. He gave us some better tools and some directions that we can go in, that we're going to start going down, as far as just learning better coping mechanisms when it comes to stress and navigating those type of things. And if there's any other persisting issues, whether that's anxiety or things like that, knowing that or if anybody else who's dealing with functional movement disorder, and you're watching this and you have other things, whether you have anxiety issues that exacerbate your symptoms, you know, you can take medication for the anxiety, right? But knowing that it's not medication to fix the movement disorder, it's medication to solve the anxiety, which in turn will help the movement disorder. And just knowing that chain, the ABC, not, you can't jump over the things, you know, that the functional movement disorder is the byproduct of all the other stuff. And if we can solve all the other stuff, it'll help the movement disorder. And not, you know, whether that it's I have it the rest of my life or it goes away. I mean, I've had moments, you know, and I talked about this in the other video about my journey, where I've had it stop, I've had it continue, it waxes and wanes, it goes up and it goes down. And that's just how it is with it, you know. In times of great stress, it'll get worse. In times of not that, you know, it'll get better and things like that. But that's the update we got today. Very positive, like overall, 100% very, very positive experience with the doctors. Very, very positive turnout. Me and my wife are both happy about the news we received today, and just positive general outlooks in regards to life in the disorder and everything right now. So praise the Lord for that. And like I said, more videos coming to you guys. Just some life updates. We've been in the middle of, I'm actually in the parking lot at Home Depot right now. We're in the process of doing some renovations in the house. I'll make some videos on that, and things, and just general positivity in life right now. So it's just awesome. Praise the Lord. And, you know, I just pray blessings over you and your families where you are, and I hope to see you again on the next one.